For years, Russia promised the world a glimpse of future warfare. No crews, no human risk. Just machines storming the battlefield with cold precision and unstoppable firepower. That dream crystallized in one project, the Uran-9 unmanned combat vehicle, a robot tank designed to lead Russia into a new robotic combat age. It was advertised as the weapon that would change modern conflict forever. Yet today, the only thing it has truly conquered is its reputation as one of Russia's most embarrassing military failures in decades. Instead of rewriting military doctrine, it has become a cautionary tale in overconfidence, overhype, and technological reality checks. The big vision: Moscow's robotic warfare dream. When development began in 2015, Russia sold the Uran-9 as a revolutionary platform. It wasn't supposed to assist human troops. It was supposed to replace them in dangerous zones. Engineers from Kalashnikov concern and other defense firms envisioned a tracked, armored robot that could scout ahead, deliver firepower, and keep human operators safe from harm. Russian media and defense officials boasted that the country was years ahead of NATO. The Kremlin proudly displayed the prototype in 2016, complete with promises of huge production runs, export deals, and military dominance in autonomous ground warfare. In Moscow's narrative, the Uran-9 was not just a weapon, it was proof that Russia was leading the world into an AI-driven battlefield era. Packed with firepower, on paper at least. The original spec sounded impressive. The Uran-9 rolled out looking like a miniature tank, bristling with weapons and advanced sensors. Developers touted its automatic cannon, machine gun, guided missiles, threat warning systems, and camera suite capable of spotting enemies from long distances. The vehicle was also advertised as having limited autonomous behavior, meaning that if communications were briefly interrupted, it could still navigate danger and return to safe positions. It seemed futuristic and deadly, a small robotic predator ready to storm urban streets and contested zones without risking Russian soldiers. For a brief moment, global defense analysts wondered if Russia had just leapfrogged every other military in unmanned ground warfare. Early interest abroad and a rising ego at home. By late 2016, Russia announced it would deliver the first batch to its armed forces. Foreign militaries, including Myanmar and several Middle Eastern and Asian nations, appeared curious as well. Diplomats toured Russian testing sites, watched demonstrations, and listened to pitch after pitch about Russia's new robotic army. In Moscow, confidence soared. Propaganda outlets labeled the Uran-9 a revolutionary machine. Officials praised it in press briefings. Some Russian analysts even predicted future robotic battalion formations led by Uran-9 units. Everything seemed aligned for a grand debut, until reality arrived in the harshest way possible. Syria, the moment the fantasy collapsed. In 2018, the Uran-9 received its real trial during Russia's military operations in Syria. Commanders expected a showcase moment. Footage of robotic armor dominating the battlefield, proving Russia's technological superiority. What actually happened was an unfiltered disaster. A confidential Russian military report later revealed staggering flaws. The vehicle repeatedly lost contact with its operators, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for more than an hour. In urban environments, its effective control range shrank to just a few hundred meters, making it useless in the very environments it was designed for. Sensors meant to spot enemies struggled to detect threats beyond short distances, and often misidentified ordinary objects as hostile targets. Its cannon jammed multiple times, and shockingly, the vehicle could not fire accurately while moving because its systems lacked stabilization. It literally had to stop in place to shoot. A death sentence in modern warfare. Engineers also discovered durability issues with suspension and rollers failing frequently, forcing field repairs in hostile zones. Instead of being a robotic soldier, it became a mechanical liability. The brutal Russian assessment. A senior Russian defense researcher publicly presented the findings at a scientific conference in 2018. His conclusion was blunt. The Uran-9 simply could not fulfill its mission in real combat. This was not a minor setback or a few bugs. It was a complete operational failure. Russia's dream robot couldn't move reliably, couldn't communicate consistently, couldn't shoot properly, and couldn't identify targets with confidence. Years of hype evaporated in a few pages of technical humiliation, denial, discounts, and desperation. Despite overwhelming evidence that the program was not ready, Russian leadership refused to pull the plug. Instead, they tried to continue selling it to foreign clients. Myanmar, once genuinely interested, eventually rejected the offer even after Russia attempted to sweeten the deal with discounts and, in a surreal twist, trade options involving vintage Soviet T-34 tanks. At home, the Kremlin made the baffling decision to officially accept the Uran-9 into service in 2019, claiming improvements had been made after the Syria lessons. Yet no substantial proof of major upgrades ever emerged. The West weighs in and agrees it's a mess. Around the same time, British defense giant BAE Systems conducted its own analysis. To Russia's dismay, the foreign assessment echoed the Russian one almost point for point. The Uran-9, Western analyst wrote, could not operate reliably in real combat situations. Its vision systems were ineffective in motion. Command delays were significant. Communications were fragile. It was dangerously vulnerable to electronic warfare. And perhaps most damning of all, BAE analysts concluded that Russia was likely a decade or more away from fielding a usable version of this kind of autonomous platform. Conspicuous silence in Ukraine. If the Uran-9 were truly combat-ready, the brutal war in Ukraine would be the perfect place to showcase it. Russia has thrown nearly every conventional and improvised tool into the conflict, yet not a single verified deployment of the Uran-9 has occurred on Ukrainian soil. The vehicle Russia once paraded as the future of warfare is now conspicuously missing from the largest conflict of the century. Instead, Russian forces have increasingly relied on improvised ground robots built by volunteers and tech hobbyists, a symbolic downgrade that underscores how thoroughly the Uran-9 failed to deliver. From game changer to military punchline. Today, the Uran-9 stands as a reminder that bold promises and flashy prototypes don't win wars. Reliability, engineering maturity, and combat testing do. Russia imagined a future of mechanized warfare and tried to sprint into it. Instead, it tripped over its own ambitions. The robot tank that was supposed to symbolize national strength ended up exposing systemic weaknesses in Russia's defense industry. Political pressure, rushed development, and a refusal to admit failure. Meanwhile, other nations continue researching robotic warfare quietly and methodically, learning from Russia's mistakes without the international embarrassment. A lesson: Russia still isn't learning. Russia has a long history of celebrating revolutionary weapons, only for them to crumble in the real world. The Uran-9 joins a growing list of overhyped assets whose battlefield performance never matched propaganda promises. Whether future Russian unmanned vehicles succeed will depend on whether the Kremlin allows developers to acknowledge failure and improve, or continues chasing headlines instead of hardware. Until then, the Uran-9 will remain what it truly is. Not a robotic warrior, but a symbol of misplaced confidence, technological haste, and a nation obsessed with claiming victory before earning it. And there you have it. The story of a machine that rewrote the rules of aviation and refused to bow to time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the greatest warbirds ever built, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep your eyes to the skies.